Okay.
Your name?
Yeah. My name is Festo. When he came, one political the represent going to agree for them to take part in the process once they are living in the community and they know the political party in which he find himself, then they are not going to allow, because EC said with every police station two representative, exactly, two representative, and so once they are seeing that, and that has sparked that controversy.
And so far, how has the situation been calmed?
By the help of the security personnel, they've been able to calm the situation down. They've been able to calm everything down into everything. In fact, when it comes to just that, they are fighting over who is the rightful person for the agent for Chada. Because once it's an NPP person and he's in the community, maybe he's here to play a role on behalf of the NPP. Maybe, I don't know what they mean by that.
So right now, we can see that some party agents are seated over here. So I want to know, for the new force, do you have anybody here, or because of the issue?
In fact, here we have three polling stations. And so we have new force too. But the last one that has sparked the controversy, they are saying that he's an NPP person and he's coming in the name of what? Chada.
There you have it. We are at the Solid Rock polling station 123, and the controversy that has sparked at the gates is that the party agent to be representing the new force has been fingered by community members to be a member of the NPP, and they are suspecting foul play. As such, he hasn't been allowed into the premises yet, and the police is taking care of the issue, and the gates have been barred, restricting access, and just nobody is allowed in. There's no problem. Also reporting for GH1 TV from Dom Kwabinya.
Where the NDC, a member of the New Patriotic Party. Should this be a concern, Ivy?
Absolutely shocking. I don't know the grounds upon which they're in the name of another candidate.
Absolutely.
If it's a candidate that comes there to say that is not my agent, and that is a member of the NPP, and that he's impersonating my agent, then you have an issue.
That's where
once the individual has
arise.
been deployed in the name of the new force, and nobody raising. I could be a member of one particular party today, but the next moment I can decide to caucus with another political party, to the point that I can be deployed as an agent of that particular individual or that particular party. And so it's good the police intervened and ensured that calm was restored and the exercise proceeded as it ought to. This is a red herring that's needless.
And you're still watching the election hub here on GH. 76 constituencies in the country. Seat, and we would have had 13 individuals.
That will be quite some height of a ballot paper.
And I think it makes it quite obvious who you're voting for, because the slots is not enough to contain the entire. So you'd have to.
Especially for the presidential.
Yes, for the parliamentary, yes.
It's been
for the
just
parliamentary, my constituency is just 2. Yes.
Exactly. Marshal the resources to fill candidates. The height and how long the ballot paper is makes it quite difficult.
Yeah.
And
the officers are seated right behind you.
Okay, so.
Yeah, so. I mean, I saw where somebody's vote was going.
Okay, that's problematic, and I think that the electoral officers' attention will have to be drawn to this, and they have to do something
right
about
behind
this.
The booth, and
you have to move it around. Yes, I get that. Hopefully, somebody draws the attention to this. If we are discouraging people from taking pictures of their printed ballot papers, the woman as well ensure that the EC officers there do not get to see how people are voting. It's very critical that is done.
Okay,
hopefully.
And this is your election hub here on GH1 television. We have been crisscrossing the country to bring you details with regard to how the voting is going in most of the areas. Largely it's been smooth, apart from the concerning issue in relation to the Wejagbawe constituency, where about 16 polling stations, they've had their ballot papers swapped, in some instances going to the Okainkwe North constituency to be speaking to my colleague Nanama Ajiman, who has been monitoring the exercise there for us. We'll be going there shortly. We'll be speaking to the Okankwe North MP as well. It started smoothly on it as soon as others. The Electoral Commission was asked in their purview as far as the foundation said that
Election Day security, there was a task force that had been clothed with the responsibility of ensuring that security is well taken care of. Men had been deployed, heavily armed, in a certain West Akim enclave. That's the Adeso enclave of military equally being deployed. And I've gotten videos and we're told by ACP Akrofi that they will be engaging in those constant media engagement. We hope they learn from the EC and equally take questions from journalists who are present there. These are the questions that we want the reporters there to put to them and get answers. It looks like, aside the deploys, on the blind side of the IGP, it looks like this police will have to speak to this.
And this is something many of the analysts had pointed to, especially when the deployment of the military.
To the police station.
Yes, and then the IGP talked about a 30-year blueprint. And I heard some of the analysts say that, well, ultimately, everything boils down to election day.
Yes.
What will happen on election day would clearly tell, true or otherwise.
Exactly so, especially when the military hierarchy addressed the media as well and mentioned that they will be playing a supportive role.
Absolutely.
And that you only see the military moving at the call of the police. So if the police request the military intervention, so you have that. And so if they are stationed at the constituency for that purpose, it might be understandable. But where they are being cited at polling stations, then that becomes a problem.
All right. Ibrahim, I will definitely return to you, but we now have to go to the Okankwe North constituency and speak to Nanama Ajiman, who is monitoring the exercise there of the 2024 election. After many months of crisscrossing the country to solicit and canvass votes, unfortunately, Nanama Awuni, who took the seat 4 years ago, and she's confident of retaining the seat in that constituency. Let's talk about that constituency.
Well, so John Dramani Mahama lost the constituency NPP for the NDC. Dukia, Nana Ama Dukia, who abandoned the Akuapem North Quest, has come, and then of course, there are three actually. There's a CPP candidate, a young man in the race, but of course we all know it's a two-horse race. We're there for the Voters Connect segment and on the GA today on the breakfast show and then on Morning Star as well, and you could tell that Madame Dukia had a lot of work to do. She could not show up on that day, but of course, if the engagement were anything to go by, if our engagement with even the party executives in the constituencies is anything to go by, then she will have much more grounds to cover to make up for the deficit, because he had been tagged out. If technology allows us to return, you hear her express confidence about her chances of retaining that seat. But if there were ever a seat that could be described as a lion's den seat, that would be one of them, right? The Okankwe enclave, Okankwe one decided to slip out in 2020.
All right, let's go back again. Let's try and see we'll be able to connect with Nanama Ajiman, who is in the Okankwe North constituency, to bring us the conversation with the Member of Parliament for the area. Nanama, can you hear me?
Hello, Daddy. So as you mentioned,
what's going on?
I'm 79,549 votes. I expect this constituency. I
don't know what is wrong with them.
Not Teresa Ladi Awuni here. And welcome to GH1 TV. You've been here to cast your vote. What's your impression so far? Right. The thing will be that
Okay. Nanama Ajiman there, which definitely show that will be third time lucky. But we're talking about how this is a Daniel and a lion's den situation because largely they've gone along the end.
Yes.
Theresa Ladia, when he did what many didn't anticipate that she would be able to do. And then there are many, constituencies like that we will be looking at in the course of the show. But we're talking about security before we had to cross over to the Okaikwe North constituency. Yes, and then also they will be doing the parallel voter tabulation. And a question was asked about, what they made of the campaign activities so far. And what Paula Brownpa did say was that, well, generally they are impressed with how things have gone down because in the previous election, around that time, we had recorded so many clashes, incidents of clash. When we get to the final end, Asawase is known to be a hot spot.
Yes.
But then again, we know that the scuffles and the commotions barely happen during the voting time. The real issues would arise after the ballots are cast and we are counting.
Just before the dying embers of the game and after, that's the crucial moment. And so if this morning you gauge the mood and then you conclude emphatically that tag has been removed, you might be wrong. And so, yes, but of course, we are optimistic that we won't record such. People do what is inspected, not what is expected. You cannot just expect that everybody will go queue, vote, and then either go home and return later to observe peacefully. And that's how come we deploy security. I just hope that the military engagement, the conversation will be handled and be handled promptly and quickly, just so somebody doesn't hide behind that to foment trouble.
Just in Tamale. The interesting thing is that all the deputies in Tamale Center, what I have left for my senior brother, Honorable Harun Adrisu, is the mortuary. I own the hospital and then I have given him the mortuary. So the kinds of work we have done.
Come back to the issues of the elections. I mean, the process is ongoing. It appears here the number is not really that, encouraging. I've seen
of polling stations here. One here, 4 are here, 3 are here. So if the Electoral Commission, depending on the number, so here if you check, they have about almost 500, more than 500 registered votes because of the fact that there are a lot. We have a cluster of registered votes, and the process has been smooth so far. So if you check, all those who come, they get their chance to vote. Let me be very clear. They call me and tell me that, look, because of the work you have done, we are going to vote for you. And I say, don't just vote for me. Vote for Dr. Bome. I plead with you. Vote for me. I plead to vote for President. But that's the only way we can reset this country. That is the only way we can change the mess that we are engulfed with. That is the only way. Can I say President Mahama, because he has demonstrated that before. The money he borrowed, the projects he executed. I mean, these are some of the things.
But it appears you have a tough challenge. You are in this contest with the Tamale mayor, who, one way or the other, is also touting his achievements, just as you are doing.
What achievement has he touted? One. Construction of
they've put structures there. They also have the Tamale interchange within the Tamale Central constituency. He's pointing to a lot of things that he has done, supporting the youth in various ways, just like you are also highlighting. And he says that he's going to beat you and ensure that the MPP would own one seat this time around in Parliament within the Tamale Metro.
Well, we are left with some few hours and then we shall know whether indeed he's going to beat me or not. We haven't had a single defectee.
Tamale interchange. He mentions that's his government which has done it, and that is under his jurisdiction.
The things the NDC government did, all the things I have mentioned, they are not even things President Mahama did. The boreholes are not things President Mahama did. This is something that his son, his member of parliament, has done, the 82 boreholes. The free extra classes I organize every year with my personal money. I'm not saying with common fund, with my personal money. I did them. The medical science students, 45 medical science students. And I can boast, tell me one single constituency in Ghana since independence that you've had MP who has financed 45 medical science students. One, from 1960 till now, the First Republic, second, third, fourth. I stand to be quite, someone should tell me. And I paid the fees entirely from my personal money. Look, last year, all the rice I harvested in my farm, I spent every single dime in the Tamale Center. This year I've gotten almost 3,000 bags of rice. 3,000 almost. And every single dime is going to. I have stated what I have done with my personal money. The free extra classes, the medical science students, the boreholes which I did with my common fund were 62. And I had 20 which is supported by Islamic NGOs. The clinics. If you go to the Channel 1, when we're commissioning, the Qatar charity said, look, your MP has done something we have never seen. We always build and finish, but we built this clinic and he finished. I didn't finish it with common funds.
So you think that based on
he has done,
he's not here to, defend himself. He's not here. He's not here. So we'll put that aside. He's not here. Honorable, he's not here. He's not here to defend himself. So let's go back to the election. So with just few hours to the close of poll at 5 p.m. What are you?
I will answer, but I'm saying that you are he's the mayor.
I'm not defending. I'm just saying that he's not here to defend himself. So let's go back to the issue of election. Finally, tell us. We are live on GH1 TV and Star FM. So tell us, before close of polls at 5 p.m., what are your expectations, or what are you expected to happen? I
am very optimistic, by the will of Allah, that President Mahama will get over 90% every few hours. The Gombes have a proverb.
But are you ready for a defeat?
Who?
You.
But why? I'm saying that I get into an elections. I've lost an elections before. And when I lost, I congratulated the person who won. But I can tell you, the defeat is going to be tsunami on Sule Salva. He's my friend, he's my brother. There's going to be a tsunami. And it's not only going to be a tsunami on him. President Mahama is going to win a landslide victory. And it will be the highest, the biggest elected defeat the MPP will ever get in these elections.
Thank you very much. That's Dr. Murtala Mohammed, and he has been engaging us here from Zugbeli, which is a cluster of polling stations, and this happens to be one of the polling stations. And I must say that quite a few of the electoral officers are at the center to cast their ballot. But I'm sure that before close of 5 p.m., quite a number of them would approach here to cast their ballot. And this has been the situation from every constituency that we visited. It was the queue was very lengthy in the early hours of Saturday morning or this morning, but getting to midday, the queue has actually. Hanan Adam here from Zugbeli.
And thank you very much, Hanan. We'll now cross over to the Bole Bamboy constituency in the Savannah region, where the former president and NDC flag bearer John Dramani Mahama is at his family house praying for victory by his father's grave.
It's time. It's in the 22 after 11.
The voting booth, and I'm sure she is now 12 her vote. And this is for the presidential election. So after she has casted the vote, she will then fold the ballot paper nicely, as we all know must be done, and then she will drop it in the ballot box. She is looking for some assistance, and I believe that the MP.
Coming from the Bole Bamboy constituency in the Savannah region, you see the former president, John Dramani Mahama, there in the company of some individuals. They are by his father's grave, Emmanuel Adama Mahama, there by his grave there. He's praying by the grave, paying homage, and also asking for his father's blessings as he goes into the polls today. He is praying for victory. You see him there in a white kaftan and his cap. As well, I think that's his daughter by his side, if I'm seeing correctly, and also some family members, who he's flanked by family members and various individuals who are by him as he, pays homage to his father and also prays to him, asking for his blessings going into the polls. Did he just wipe a tear, or he's just tired? Well, you saw Muhammad putting his hand over his eyes. I'm wondering if he shed a tear. And if you recall, when he wrote his book, My First Coup d'etat, he made reference to his father. His father was a minister under the Nkrumah administration. He references, the 1966 coup as one of the incidents that made him very aware of the political situation in the country. So John Dramani Mahama there praying by his father's grave and asking for his blessings. And at this point, everybody would, all hands on deck, right? You'd ask for the support and blessings from anyone that you believe can, give you that kind of support you need?
Yes, you tap into the spiritual world, tap into divinity, and then tap into the physical world as well. It's interesting that the father was MP, West Gonja, MP, former MP for West Gonja, and also a Minister of State. And so it's a political family. And like we mentioned, he has chronicled that in his book, My First Coup d'etat. Yes, so that's the father's grave. I'm not sure as to whether he will head to the mother's grave as well, which is in Damongo.
Damongo, yes.
Yes, in that constituency. That's where the remains of the mother is as well. And so he's also expected to actually vote in Bole.
Yes.
The vice
where
president.
He served 2 terms.
Yes,
as
MP.
member of Parliament. Yes.
Yes, and he was in Parliament with Nana Dankwa Akufo-Addo and co. Before they all decided to abandon the legislative business and then join the executive, or the quest to join the executive to be president. He got to be the president first before Nana Dankwa Akufo-Addo. Now, I was talking about his opponent, his main contender in this election, Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, the MPP flag bearer, who has already voted.
Yes.
He also went to his constituency, Wale Wale, in the northeast region to vote. So he has already voted. But of course, the former president and the NDC flag bearer is yet to vote. I'm sure the prayer forms part of the activities that will be engaged in before he finally, what he's been doing every electoral cycle.
Okay.
Yes.
And let's hear from John Dramani Mahama, who's been speaking in Bole.
That's part of our culture and tradition, and many of these are my uncles. They believe that at every opportunity, if you are faced with a crisis or you are anxious about something, you must pray to your father and your ancestors. And so these are prayers being said for my father. This is my father's grave. And so they're saying prayers for him and asking him to stand behind me in the contest that we're going into today.
President Baba, you have in the past shared forward memories about how your father and then the father of the MP presidential candidate were neighbors.
Yeah, we lived in the same neighborhood in Tamale, and
former president's son,
so that's true. We grew up together.
Madam Lodina Mahama.
So he knows my family.
Who, and then on the background earlier, Erica Nyanyu was granted interviews with Honorable Joyce Bawa as well, and the media heavily represent.
Former President John Mahama, who came to visit the tomb of his father, will be leaving here shortly to the polling station where we cast. His ballot. And this is his first.
So you had the John Dramani Mahama saying that, when you're going into a contest, and you are anxious about something, you're taught to pray to your ancestors, your fathers, and he sees this as a good opportunity to seek his father's face and blessings going into the election. Ibrahim?
Yes, and of course, I'm sure they use the opportunity to also offer prayer for the dead, the departed. Usually, and the father died a Muslim.
Yes.
And so you should understand why the grave looks the way it looks.
Yes,
it might get confusing sometimes that the top of the grave is bare. Yeah, that's because that is Islamic way of burying the dead, right? So yes, it works both ways. If you believe that the dead can offer you some help, yes, you go there and ask for it. But it's incumbent on you to also offer the dead prayers. Yeah.
And, in our conversations with our correspondents, when away from John Dramani Mahama, when we spoke to Hanan and the Tamale Central MP, Mutala Mohammed, was talking about what he as an MP has done.
Yes.
It is very expensive to be a member of parliament in this country.
His story is an infinitesimal part of the major story as to the burden on MPs. And Naridi, we've brought these stories to viewers on countless occasions, right? Why it's practically impossible for a Ghanaian MP not to be corrupt, right? Many of them have shared their stories. They've got bent force seeing it as it is. But indeed, that's the reality. You heard the gentleman talk about the fact that he's been able to harvest over 3,000 bags of rice. And obviously, this rice will be sold in the market. The proceeds of this particular venture, which is a private venture that he's engaged in, will largely be plowed back into helping his constituents. And like I said, it's been the story for virtually every MP. At every point in time, when you cease doing it, then you have to start kissing your seat goodbye, either from within your party during the primaries or the external elections.
Now, we'll be taking you to the Okaikwe Central constituency. Well, I understand that there has been some confusion erupting at the NPP's office. We will be going there to bring you some updates in relation to that shortly. But still in relation to the conversation about, how expensive it is to be a member of parliament. And I am wondering if... is it because they go about promising so much? Does it have a role to play in it?
Well, politics largely have had their life transformed just by the dint of they joining politics. And we live with them, we see. So
the elections, you hardly hear from them until another 4-year cycle.
Most definitely. And once we've given you a job, and that's how transactional it has become. You were somewhere as a teacher, you were somewhere as a headmaster, you were somewhere as a private legal practitioner. We send you to Parliament, right? We've given you a job. It's a privilege to serve as an MP. It opens business opportunities to you.
Yes.
And this is how the society perceives members of Parliament. So the least you can do is to attend our funerals, to buy things for us to bury our dead, right? Help us with RAM to name our children. If you want to add on to our wife.
And the election officers are waiting to have their turn. Do you remember that at a certain point the Electoral Commission was considering 3 p.m. as end of voting? Now compare and contrast that with the Tamale situation, and also the wage agbawe.
If you remember that if it's not broken, don't fix it, right? Many people have structured their lives on election day with this information in their minds that it's 5 p.m.
And kindly hold that thought for me.
Yeah.
We have to go to the Okaikwe Central constituency where...
Yes. Okay. So that is the Member of Parliament for Asanwase, Mubarak, after casting his ballot, decided to brief the media. So let's listen to him.
It's only putting the ballot into the box for me. Well, I just encourage them to tell them that voting is a civic responsibility, and you have to teach them how those things are done. But obviously, by law, they are not supposed to see which party or which candidate you vote for, because it's supposed to be a secret ballot. So, but putting it in the box, I mean, it's a normal thing. So it's just to them to know that voting is a civic responsibility. So, but as they grow, they know that voting is a right and you must always exercise it.
There have been a series of allegations of vote buying, and are you concerned about that?
Well, obviously. We were talking about it for the past 1 month. And, well, it's persistent, but I'm very optimistic that's not going to change anything. I believe the people of Swansea are wise up. They know. I mean, you remember 2005, I don't know whether you saw the clothes that they are sharing, the money that they are sharing, I mean, calling people and sending Momo to them. But believe me, I know the people of Swansea are way, way, way above that. And I'm very optimistic that is never going to determine anything.
There was an issue at the Akurim Junior High School polling station where your opponent, Manaf Ibrahim, went to vote. He decided to join the queue, but some of your party members were not happy about he joining the queue, not to influence the process. Has this issue been relayed to you, and what's your immediate reaction?
Well, I don't see anything wrong with that. If he chooses to join the queue, the only hope is that he's not in the queue talking to people. Because, you know, by law, you are not supposed to be voting on campaigning at the polling station. And usually, out of finance to rent canopies, all the 215 polling stations. And I'm happy that I've gone around, I've seen that they've mounted the canopies. Yeah, it comes at a cost, but I don't think the cost of the canopy you can compare the scorching sun and the likelihood of people falling sick to the cost of renting canopy. I always be in this kind of scorching sun. So because of the scorching nature of the sun, too, obviously people are like, let me wait and see. Other than that, you see that the queues are going very fast, and you don't have, there's no place that I've seen long queue where you think that maybe the process is doing bad. It's fairly good, not too long queues. People are able to come and cast their vote within a matter of 30 minutes maximum. I think that's very good. Our hope is that people should be able to spend 15 minutes maximum at the polling station, not more than that. But, I mean, we've provided canopies, and we hope with the shade, it's going to encourage others to come out to vote and not to wait towards the tail end, then we'll see long queues. Yeah.
Turnout so far in the areas that you have monitored. Are you satisfied with the turnout now? We are almost at midday. With the information you have, is it encouraging?
You see, we've almost gone halfway. Because if you look at the stats, we started at 7. So by 12, we will have gone halfway. And if I look at the register and the number of people that have come on, it's clearly telling me we are likely to get above 80% turnout if everything goes as we've seen, which is encouraging. Even though our hope in Aswansi is to see if the turnout could be about 90%. Because I know if 100 people come out of Aswansi to vote, I am very sure that majority of them are going to vote for me. So what I'm hoping is that I have about 90% turnout, and not necessarily even for the parliamentarian, for the presidency, every vote counts. So now all we are doing is trying to remind people, we have a lot of volunteers that are going to the homes to tell people that, there are no long queues, so come out and cast your vote. I want to take this opportunity to appeal to all those sitting in the house and waiting for later to know that there are no long queues. And I'm very optimistic. I mean, look at Peace. I'm sure when you come to Peace, where I've just casted my vote, you may not have to spend up to 15 minutes and you go. So people should come out and not be waiting, so that we don't have a situation where it is 5 and we have long people in the queue, and then darkness sets in, and then all the other challenges, begins to confront us. So it's our hope that people will come out and vote before the 5 o'clock. And we are very optimistic that we should expect about 90% with us.
Like January, it has been
about the 9th Parliament, seeing that the 8th Parliament has been characterized with a lot of controversies.
Well, I'm hoping that, JM is winning, and is winning with a very, very huge margin of seats in Parliament, so that we don't have to be challenged with the kind of confrontation that we see. Because obviously, believe me, I keep telling almost everybody, we can't run away from a hangover effect of the 8th Parliament. And if it comes and it's so narrow, well, that will be a hell for us. And I don't hope for that. I hope that we have a very comfortable margin, so that we don't have to struggle to do anything in Parliament.
Alhaji, January, the elections have been peaceful. Can we trust you guys for successful election in Asawasi constituency?
So far, up to this moment, we've not had any major incident. It is our hope that it's going to continue that way. And I want to encourage my constituents that we are being applauded across the whole world. Everybody knows Aswansi is a hotspot. People are waiting to see what's going to happen in Aswansi. Thank God, we are on the D-Day. Nothing significant has happened. Our hope is that the 5 more hours that we have, moving to the next other 5 hours for collation and all that, will continue to be peaceful, so that at least we are now, if you ask me, we've crossed the bronze, we are almost crossing the silver, and we are almost grabbing the gold in terms of peaceful election. I want to encourage all of us, those in the NDC, let's adhere to the rules. Those in the other parties, let us all adhere to the rules, so that we'll all go grab the gold.
Constituency, Alhaji Muntaka Mubarak telling us what his observations are in the Asawasi constituency and how happy he is with the way electorates and constituents have conducted themselves from morning 7 a.m. when they started voting up to date. Asawase has not recorded any unfortunate incident, and he is confident that the peaceful environment that they are voting, they will continue till collation is done for Asawase to be described as one of the peaceful constituency that held election today. Back to you guys in the studio.
All right, that is Isaac Bediako Justice there. He, in that interaction with the Member of Parliament for Asawase, Muntaka Mubarak, and they are talking about the situation in that particular constituency. We'll be going to the Savannah region, and we will be seeing the visual of the flag bearer of the NDC and former President John Dramani Mahama, who is also going to cast his ballot in the Savannah region. Earlier, we saw that he had gone to his father's grave to pray. Now he's going to cast his ballot in that constituency, where he once served as a Member of Parliament. So you can see him going through the process. He has been issued a ballot paper. He's followed closely by his daughter, and I don't think she's voting yet, but that is John Mahama there approaching the booth to cast his ballot. After that, I'm sure he would briefly interact with the media as well. But in your short is the former president and flag bearer of the NDC, John Dramani Mahama, casting his ballots. I don't know which of them he's doing at the moment, whether it's the presidential or it's the parliamentary. But if it is the presidential, after that he would go and cast his ballots as well for the parliamentary contest. You remember that when you go to the polling station, you must be doing two things: vote for the presidential and then vote for the parliamentary. Make sure you don't leave the place with just voting for one particular candidate. As in just the presidential and the parliamentary. So in short, you see John Dramani Mahama there in the Savannah region, specifically in the Bole constituency where he's voting. Like I did say, he served this particular constituency for 2 terms. Whilst he was MP there, I think he was a minority spokesperson on communications at the time. Yes. And when he entered Parliament, he was one of the youngest, right?
Yes, at that point.
It's interesting how time flies. He became a deputy
minister, and then became a substantive minister, and then while still in Parliament, he was tapped to be running mate, and then subsequently became a vice president.
And his journey has been quite an interesting one. He's occupied every political office in this country, from assembly member all the way to becoming Member of Parliament, then going on to become vice president, and then becoming president. So he's gone through the mill, and I think that is one of the things he has been touting as the upper hand he has over his opponents. He talks about having experience, having gone through the mill, and also been a president before. But eventually, at the end of the day, we'll know whether it's either going to be a reset or it's going to be an upgrade. So you're still seeing John Dramani Mahama in your shots. Okay, that's the daughter also casting a ballot, and she's also casting her ballots there.
I'm sure she's just observing.
I think she's just observing.
Yes, maybe she's observing that the father does the right thing.
Would it be a situation where you are contestants and you don't vote for yourself? Does it happen?
No.
Yes. So John Dramani Mahama, he's done with the voting process.
And that's the MP with the MP for the
pleasantries with the individuals in the area, and you know that you are not allowed to wear party paraphernalia. So he's wearing his white kaftan, and the inscription on his cap is Ghana's coat of arms. And that should also remind you that this exercise is a national one. It's not a partisan one. It's a national exercise. So go there, cast your ballots. When you're done, you leave the place, you go and rest for a while. When the voting process closes, you can make your way back and observe the counting. It doesn't have to be chaotic. So we just saw John Dramani Mahama cast his ballot there. We also know that his main opponent, Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, has done same in the Northeast region, specifically in the Wale constituency. That constituency is also very interesting. We'll be talking about it shortly. Still in the region, Lordina Mahama is also casting her ballot, and I'm sure she's doing that right after her husband has done same.
No, this Ladadeko here in
she is doing so in the Ladadeko Topon concert. So as and when any of the key contenders are casting their ballots, we will take you there for you to observe what is happening. So Lodina Mahama in the Ladadeko Topon constituency, and then John Dramani Mahama in the Bole Mamboy constituency.
She used to do that with the late Vice President Kwesi Bekwai Misata. She also votes in the same constituency, Ladadeko Topon. Yes, and of course, when the former president, Jerry John Rawlings, was equally alive, of course, we will have
after casting his ballot.
Let's start. Who do we start with?
Yeah, join us.
Then GTV. Hi, GTV. Okay.
President, please, what's your assessments of the process so far?
The process, as I've seen it here, it's smooth and very easy. It didn't take more than 3 minutes for me to finish voting in both the presidential and parliamentary. It is the same everywhere in the country. Then I think we'll have a successful election.
Global Info Analytics, EIU, have all predicted victory for you.
All right, so in short, there was John Dramani Mahama interacting with journalists after casting his ballot. He was being asked about how the process has gone so far. He says that, well, it's been smooth. And if it is the same across the country, then we are on the good path. This is our continuous coverage of the 2024 general election here in Ghana. It is a competition between an upgrade and a reset, but it's not just, they're not just the only individuals in the contest. There are 10 other contestants in the presidential race. And then for the parliamentary race, 801 individuals are contesting in the 276 constituencies. I'm sure you're used to the 275. 276 because there is now the Guan constituency. And so we are bringing you all this with regard to the elections. Let's now take you to the Okainkwe Central constituency, where there was some confusion at the NPP party office. Let's quickly look at that. Okay, so those were visuals from the Okainkwe Central constituency where there was a confusion because, per the reports we gathered, the NDC constituency officer there claimed that tampering was ongoing in the office. Let's go over the we'll be speaking to our reporter on the ground, but Ibrahim Alassan is here. Well, the police were invited in and nothing like that was found.
Yes, suspicions, and of course, it's not strange to days like this. And if you monitor social media, you might have realized that it's been an ongoing development for the past 3 or so days.
Yes,
where
and it became
somebody
intense actually from yesterday as well.
Somebody raised an alarm about some sort of fictitious activity going on in a certain building, gives the address, and then the party people are massing up there. Yesterday, for instance, Joseph Yamin, the national organizer, was addressing the media in Kumasi. NDC members went and disrupted the exercise because they say that they had sensed something amiss happening. They expected the party to mobilize and go and foil it instead of addressing the media. So that's the posture. That instead of just sitting down and addressing the media, let's go and confront whatever suspicion that we might have. And so it's good that the police moved in. And then, of course, everybody was satisfied. And I'm sure they can then return to the polling station and ensure that voting is done. And then, of course, we are also happy to note that this did not disrupt the exercise as far as voting is concerned. So, yes, it's good. So kudos to the police for quelling whatever that potentially could have gone wrong.
And speaking to the NDC situation, I think it's what prompted the MPP to hold a press briefing yesterday.
Yes, there was another press briefing. Yes. That one was in relation to a gentleman that was arrested, and per the statement, the stories, per the report, the gentleman was an NDC constituency secretary, and he had dummy ballot papers, dummy Google, to go and then offer voter education to the Ghanaians who were living there. And so Dennis Miracles Abuaje addressed the media late night and then demanded a comprehensive report from the police in that regard, right? So among other things that he talked about. But suffice to say that immediately after those reports, the Interior Minister issued a statement announcing the closure of the borders. At a point, I was wondering when that statement was going to come, because it has become a regular feature for elections where we decide to close our borders. And so if you are even a Ghanaian and you find yourself in a neighboring country and you don't return a week before the elections, chances are you will have to stay there until our elections are done. And so at the point, I was even wondering when the statement was going to come. And lo and behold, Henry Kote uttered that statement again, announcing the closure of our borders.
And yes, whilst we are here bringing you this consistent coverage, we also have to show appreciation to Verna Water for consistently supplying us water, because we are doing a lot of talking, and we do need the water to quench our thirst as we talk more. One of the things,
it tastes great.
Absolutely, it tastes absolutely great. It's one of my favorite brands when it comes to water. Now, in relation to the Asawasi situation, we'll be talking about Mutaka Mubarak, talking about renting, canopies for the polling stations in the area. What this election coverage is brought to you by Verna Water, the official water brand for the 2024 general election. Verna Water wishes all Ghanaians a peaceful election. Very important that we do this in peace and emerge peacefully and emerge as a unit and not as pieces of a unit.
So that we can get to drink more.
Absolutely, we can get to drink more water. Now, we had Mutaka Mubarak talking about how he took out time to rent canopies for the various polling stations.
200 polling stations, because the sun has decided to hit extraordinarily hard today. And it's true, it's not just limited to the Ashanti region, even here in the Greater Accra region. But what stood out for me, of course, he talked about the fact that it's expensive, but he had to do it because he could not have afforded to let the constituents stand in the scorching sun and then vote for him. He believes that overwhelming majority of those constituents are going to vote for him, right? But then he also implores the EC to, moving forward in future,
factor it into their budget.
And I agree. I agree. Because it could have been something else rather than the sun. It could have been rain, right? And of course, we're told that whenever there's rain, they are supposed to go into an enclosed space. And so if that possibility is there, I think by and large, once the polling centers are in schools. Sometimes you have shade from the trees. Sometimes the voting center proper is done in a shade. The shade that is offered by the school structures and what have you. Regardless of that, in extraordinary circumstances, if the EC can afford, and of course, as a country, we have the resources, why not? Tents can be rented. Sometimes plastic chairs are even rented because it's not everybody who shows up to vote can actually stand in a queue for long. And it's good. Kudos to the EC for breaking down the voting centers. And now we're told that the maximum number you can register at every voting center should be between 800 and say 1,000. It won't go beyond 1,000. And that has also facilitated the easiness with which people go through the process. Kudos. But if the resources allow, why not?
And President Akufo-Addo is actually also voting in the ongoing exercise. You see him there being attended to by the electoral officers, dressed in white. He has his coat of arms on his left shoulder, if I'm getting that correctly. And so he's being issued, he's about to be issued a presidential. Is that a presidential one I see? That's a very lengthy one, 13 one. So, okay. So you are seeing the president, Nana Akufo-Addo, casting and getting ready to cast his ballots. Is it Bwakwa?
That's his constituency.
That's where he was, and then it was taken over by Atachia, right? Samuel Atachia.
Who has bowed out of parliament.
Who's bowed out of parliament. So that's President Akufo-Addo in your shots there casting his ballots. That's when these key individuals cast their ballots. We'll take you there for you to have a look at it and have a feel of it. We're taking you across the country. When it happens, definitely we're going to bring it to you live here on the Election Hub. And I'm here with the head of our political desk, Ibrahim Al-Hassan. And I'm here with the head of our political desk, Ibrahim Al-Hassan. We're here together last night with Sewami here and Kojo Mensah when we started Eastern region, specifically the Bwakwa South constituency, where he also once served as a member of parliament, two-term MP he was.
Yes.
And then he also became a foreign affairs minister and eventually became flag bearer of the NPP, and then moved on to become president. He served 2 terms.
After the third term asking.
Yes, and then he served 2 terms. And one of the things he throws at his other opponents of his vice president is that I did 2 terms. And if there's any class at all you're talking about, you are in the class of 1 because you're the only one who served 1 term.
Exactly. You mean his former opponent?
Yes, I'm saying the opponent of his vice president.
And then now the opponent to his vice president. Yeah, so I was wondering whether you're going to be tempted to ask who he's voting for. Isn't that abundantly clear?
Well, when you have heard it, that he wants to hand over to another MPP, and most preferably it will be Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia. That's his choice, right?
Yes, yes. And so and this has been like the ritual. John Ajekun Kufuor votes here in Accra. Right, but former President Mahama and then Nana Akufo-Addo and then of course Vice President Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, it had always been a ritual for them to go back to their constituencies to vote. Mahama and Akufo-Addo, especially because they were members of parliament,
of course.
So it couldn't have been anything else, right? Former President Kufuor was not a member of parliament, and he decided to register and vote here, even as a president, right? Rawlings, of course, was also voting here as well. But his constituency was Southern. Rawlings' constituency, the lead president Rawlings, his constituency was Southern, where Colonel Mensah Wuyomi was the MP then. Yeah. Because he was living at Tefle at that material point in time. And so these are your notable happenings where the prominent people, we just witnessed the Gaman chair